how it work, like the space and the vibe you in, like, so you know you on some like spiritual, certain type of energy type stuff, right? You brought the C-Moz, shouts to the, C-Moz gummies, you know what I'm saying? I've been on them heavy, appreciate Bank for that link. But how it work, like, do you ever find yourself, because I asked Zaytoven the same thing, in a rock and a hard place with where you at in your beats and sometimes the content that's on it?
Honestly, it's a dual polarity to everything, so it's like energy, there's, dark, there's light, and I feel like when you find a balance, then that way it's like it becomes whole, so I look at myself as, a beacon of light that, is intertwined with a side that's not bad, but that some would consider, oh, this is, not high vibrational music or, things like that. But at the same time, we're in the age of awakening, so it's like, age of Aquarius came into to play, the awakening and people starting to understand and be interested in more things metaphysical, so, a lot of people, that are rappers that listen to certain types of music, they interested in this stuff. So like when I come in and present myself with a certain niche, that health and wellness, metaphysical stuff, and at the same time beats and vegan food, it kind of like creates a different idea that people are kind of like, oh, well, I haven't heard that before. Let me try that, and then it ends up, collectively changing the consciousness, because at the end of the day, the planet's consciousness is rising. So, we must do our part in, assisting it, I feel like.
Facts.
That's dope.
On all walks, good side, the dark side, the bad side.
When you make a beat, do you already know, like in the middle of it, this going to so-and-so? Like this is the one for so-and-so.
Yeah, sometimes the vibe, sometimes like when I'm cooking up a beat, I start freestyling to it. And then I'm like, and I'm like, all right, yeah, that's Offset. Or like, it's Savage for sure, or sometimes I'll make a beat and then like I'll automatically hear that particular person rapping in my head.
Their voice on it.
So it kind of like helps me. I feel like every producer has to have like A&R skills. You know what I'm saying? As a producer, you gotta like know how to like use your ear and then pinpoint where you think that beat should go. The same way an A&R would like take an artist and, help pinpoint and direct the way that their music comes out,
Who you hear most on your beats, like if you were like, damn, who you ain't worked with yet, like, man, if I get this nigga on my beats, I know what we gonna do.
Future. Yeah, I want to get Future on something. I haven't worked with Future where I feel like, a certain sound.
You got one for him.
Yeah, I know for sure. For sure. For sure. Future, his sound is so, diverse. So it's like I could come with like a trap R&B, or I could come with just straight trap, or I could even come with like some slow that's more like, boom bap. Shout out Jacob. Like he, cultivated the sound with Future, like crazy. So, that's one artist that I definitely want to work with for sure.
So what got you in this world of health consciousness and just overall consciousness? This been you from day one, or did you just something happen to get you in that space?
Honestly, since I was a kid, I wanted to be a doctor. When I first, came into consciousness, around 5, 6, I was like, you know what, I want to be a doctor. I had like pets, I had iguanas, I had a bullfrog.
So you had iguanas?
Yeah, iguanas.
Talking about the big lizards?
Yeah, I had a small one though. Mine was like probably like this big. Okay. But then I ended up getting.
You had iguanas in Atlanta here?
Nah, I'm actually from California.
Oh, okay.
I'm from California, but
nigga, they got iguanas here. I had one in my 3rd grade class.
You got iguanas in your house too?
Nah, not at my house, but it was at my school.
Yeah, I'm ready for fucking with some iguanas.
Nah, iguanas, they real particular. They're cold-blooded animals. So like at the time I didn't know, and I just bought an iguana. I had like a nice little terrarium set up. But then the iguana ended up dying, and then I was confused. Like, I wonder why my iguana died. So I ended up, calling myself, dissecting them and trying to see, what causes death, and that's something I was interested in.
So what were the results of the autopsy?
So in my mind, I was like, oh, he froze to death. Come to find out,
no,
the iguanas need the heat rock.
They gotta have that lamp.
Yeah. And I didn't have it, so my iguana was dead.
Oh shit!
I put 2 and 2 together because he was so stiff, and I was like, what? And I just was like, no, he froze to death. And then when I ended up, my mom took me back to Petco and was like, yo, like, what happened? They're like, oh yeah, you didn't buy the lamp or the heat rock. I'm like, really? That's y'all fault. Y'all let me come in here.
How long you have him?
About 2 weeks.
Oh
yeah.
Oh, he was a soldier.
Yeah, he was a soldier. He
toughed it out.
Yeah, exactly. I used to take him out, and he was good, feeding him crickets. But I started getting into bullfrogs too. So I bought a tadpole and I raised it up from a tadpole all the way to an adult frog. It took 6 years for it to like fully, transform. But
so why you didn't like take it serious, like try to go to school for that shit?
For like lobotomy or some shit like that.
I started learning about Dr. Sebi, like after high school, I started learning about Dr. Sebi and how he was actually curing people from illnesses that, they deem uncurable.
Uncurable, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then, he actually got apprehended for it, and he did a whole Supreme Court case where he actually overturned the ruling, but it isn't really, it wasn't publicized and it wasn't really broadcasted because, it can go against a lot of things, that what people know and what people actually make money from. So, once I started learning about that, I was like, you know what, let me try to look into it more and try to look into see, how was he curing people? What was he doing to cure people? And then I started gravitating towards holistic health, so I feel like the same idea of me being a doctor kind of transferred over, on the more holistic side, so that's one thing that I started to pick up, and it was interesting. I started using it, C-Moz ended up coming up and using C-Moz for, since I say 2017, 2016, when I first got into it. Shout out my brother Soul. He actually, directed me to a credible source because at first I was using fake C-Moz.
Because don't you harvest your own C-Moz?
Yeah, now I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I travel to Zanzibar, Tanzania, and get the C-Moz from out there. But it's a lot of uncredible sources of C-Moz out there. You can pool grown C-Moz, you got lab grown C-Moz, you got C-Moz that's farmed, and it's a different species of sea algae, so some people are like, oh, your C-Moz not skinny, it's not real, but really, it's just different species, just like there's different species of animals, you got different species of vegetables, and C-Moz is no different.
You believe every disease is curable though?
I do. The human body is one of the most resilient machines, so if you take your body and you put it in reset mode, then your body can now have a chance to go work on things that it normally wouldn't, because for one, we eat food every single day, and we're the only animals that actually cook our food. Every other animal eats their food raw. They either catch it, eat it raw, or they just pick a berry, fruit, and just consume it raw. So we actually eat food that's not necessarily
processed.
That is processed. It's different now compared to in ancient times when they would eat meat. They would hunt it and then they would process it right then and there. And then plus you got to go into your genetics. Some people actually descend from tropical regions. The melanated people, we come from more tropical regions where the sun is more prevalent. So we had more abundance of vegetables, more abundance of fruit, a lot of things that was growing naturally compared to some people that come from the Caucasus Mountains or different regions of Turkey that are more coldy and hardier type lands.
White and black.
Yeah, exactly. So in their genetics, they actually consumed a lot of red meats, a lot of dairy, cow milk.
That shit really ain't for us.
Yeah, nah. As soon as we eat it, most black people are lactose intolerant.
So they have no shit.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Our bodies is capable of processing it, but over time, the effects that grow from it are more detrimental, compared to other beings that don't have certain types of more prone to ailment, deficiencies and stuff,
And doesn't it have a lot to do with antigens also?
Yeah, exactly. Blood types, all that stuff really, has a big play on certain food that you should eat, and food that you shouldn't eat, So trying to find a way to like mesh it up with music is, something that I've been really interested in, like especially bringing it to these rappers, producers. They be up all night in the studio all night. Sometimes the food they eat isn't really, healthy because it's late,
Right.
So, studio snacks like, C-Moz and, different late night vegan food options I always try to bring to the table because, keeping them healthy is going to turn around and have them talk about things that can help others, enlighten and different things to making changes, because, people look up to the rappers, more than anything, really.
All right.
So you be trying to push it on them niggas.
Yeah, for sure.
They be receiving of it.
Some people do, a lot of them do. Savage, he fuck with it, he fuck with it. A lot of artists fuck with it. They most of them are willing to try it. Very rarely do I get somebody that's like, nah, like I'm good. Most of them have either heard about it or, they've heard about C-Moz or they heard about vegan mushroom chicken and different things like that. So
the oyster mushrooms.
Oh, the oyster mushroom chicken.
Yeah, nigga gave me one of them and like I thought it was a chicken nugget for real. I had no clue.
Yeah,
until after he told me.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy because you seasoning most of your food you season with herbs anyways. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when you season it with herbs and you fry it and it's gonna come out with a certain texture that you might be used to. But when you use certain mushrooms, you can actually mimic the texture, almost to the T. you know, like lion's mane mushroom, portobello, oyster. You know, it cooked a certain way. It tastes just like chicken or steak or meat, whatever you're looking for.